Sandy says read, and welcome to the channel. Tonight we are going to do a review and discussion of The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. Before we begin, we're going to do just a couple quick little housekeeping items, starting with, you guys, if you want to play bingo, I will put the link to the Bingo Baker card generator in the drop-down box below so that you can generate your own Bingo Baker card for Sandy Says Read. I might be saying some of these phrases today while we're doing a review. Because we're doing a review, some of those phrases might come up. You can click them off the boxes. There are no prizes. There's no prizes for doing this. It's just a fun little game to keep you entertained. Just in case I don't keep you entertained, the game will. What else? What other housekeeping items? Please subscribe to the channel while you're here. We do all kinds of bookish stuff here, you guys. The book reviews, book stuff, book unhauls. We just did a book unhaul on the 14th. We did a live stream with a book unhaul. We do book unboxings. We do all kinds of bookish stuff here. Enough of that. What else? Merch shop. I have a merch shop where you can purchase bookish items like the t-shirt I'm wearing, the Nigel and Cherise t-shirt, but other things that are bookish related. Is that enough of housekeeping stuff? The commercial stuff is over. Okay, guys, let's dive into the book review, what you're here for. What you're here for is a review of The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. Look at how gorgeous this book is. First of all, it's a striking and pretty cover, right? Look at the edges. Look at that, right? Those are black edges. Black, because black is how I feel inside. This book was on Jennifer Brooks' list of books she wanted to read in 2024. So when I saw that book on her list, I'm like, oh, that looks interesting, looks cool. So I went ahead and pre-ordered it, and it arrived a day before release. I'm like, okay, let's start reading this thing. And it is a historical fiction fantasy, and the fantasy element of that just intrigued me and sucked me in. Okay, so let's go through the specs as we do here on the channel, and then I'll read for you. The back cover is just like testimonials, so I'm going to read you the flap. And look at these end papers. Look how pretty this is. I mean, this is just a gorgeous book, you guys. It's very pretty. All right, so I will read you the flap, and I'm also going to read you the author's note. Okay, now we're going to do the specs in just a second here, but let me tell you, I'm not going to give any spoilers during this review. I'm going to be very careful not to give spoilers, okay, because I know this is brand new. This book has just been released, and I'm going to upload this video pretty quickly here, right? So I know there's a lot of folks out there who haven't read it yet. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to give away any of the big plot points that make people go, Sandy, what are you doing? I don't want to spoil anything for you. So I'm going to be very careful what I send. Every once in a while, we'll have an interruption from a bird in the background, but I'm trying not to give any spoilers. All right. Okay, so let's do the specs. The specs are The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. This was published by Flatiron Books, April 2024. This is 379 pages. It's written in third person omniscient, past tense. Like I said, it's historical fiction fantasy. That third person omniscient really comes into play because we do spend quite a bit of time in the main character's point of view. Her name is Luzia. We're in Lucia's point of view an awful lot, as we should be, right? She's the main character. But we do go into Valentina's point of view. She's the mistress of the house where Luzia works. We go into Santangel's point of view. I might not be pronouncing his name quite correctly, but Santangel, the dude, the familiar, the guy. We go into his point of view. We see different characters experiencing action, experiencing feelings, experiencing stuff throughout the book, and we see it through their eyes. Okay, so being in that third person omniscient is important. That way we can feel the stuff from different characters' points of view. All right, you tracking with me here? All right, so let's read the flap. All right. Fate. Oh my gosh, you guys, we're getting off to a rip-roaring start, aren't we? All right. Fate can be changed. Curses can be broken. In a shabby house, on a shabby street, in the new capital of Madrid, Luzia Cotado uses scraps of magic to get through her days of endless toil as a scullion. But when her scheming mistress discovers that the lump of a servant cowering in the kitchen is actually hiding a talent for little miracles, she demands Lucia use those gifts to better the family's social position. What begins as simple amusement for the nobility takes a perilous turn when Lucia garners the notice of Antonio Perez, the disgraced secretary to Spain's king. Still reeling from the defeat of his armada, the king is desperate for any advantage in the war against England's heretic queen, and Perez will stop at nothing to regain the king's favor. Determined to seize this one chance to better her fortunes, Lucia plunges into a world of seers and alchemists, holy men and hucksters, where the lines between magic, science, and fraud are never certain. But as her notoriety grows, so does the danger that her Jewish blood will doom her to the Inquisition's wrath. She will have to use every bit of her wit and will to survive, even if that means enlisting the help of Guyon Santangel, an embittered immortal familiar whose own secrets could prove deadly for them both. I did struggle with his name throughout this book, you guys. The accent mark is above the second A in Santangel, so I often just threw it all out the window and called him Santangel. Okay, let's go to the author's note at the back of this. Now, Leigh is writing to us in the author's note, and she mentions refrains. The refrains are these little songs, just little like one line or two line little songs that Lucia would sing. And when she sang them, her magic like kicked in. Okay, the little refrains brought her magic to bear. All right, so here we go. Refrains are essential to Ladino and a vital way the language lives on. It's difficult to know precisely where and when such sayings originated, but the chance that these refrains existed in this particular form, in this particular era, is unlikely. They cross oceans and miles to find Lucia, and I found it acceptable to let them cross time as well. For the sake of dramatic urgency, I've altered the dates and some of the circumstances of Lucrecia de Leon's imprisonment by the Inquisition, as well as Antonio Perez's fall from grace and subsequent flight from Spain. He did escape captivity multiple times and believed his ability to do so was foretold in his stars. He ended up in England, where he is believed to have inspired the character and caricature of Don Adriano de Amado in Shakespeare's Love's Labour's Lost. His property was seized by the Spanish crown, and La Casilla became a convent. Now, La Casilla is where a tournament takes place in our story. So keep that in mind. I think I'm going to talk a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the tournament. Not too much. I don't want to give too much away about the tournament, but I mean, it happens. Okay, a tournament happens in this book, but I'm not going to talk too much about it because the different things that take place during the tournament might be spoilers, and I don't want to spoil the things that happen there, because some of them, Leigh Bardugo does a very nice job of making you go, oh my gosh, several times throughout this book. And I like that a lot. I like it when a book makes me go, oh my gosh, what just happened? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of a synopsis, a little brief synopsis, Sandy's synopsis of the story without giving any spoilers, okay? So this will be real brief. Okay, Lucia can sing little refrains that work many magics, and Valentina traps her into revealing her magic, and the rest of the story is greedy people using Lucia. That's your brief synopsis. But let's go to page 249, because on page 249, we see that people have been using her. And I wrote that in the margin here. I wrote, everyone has used Lucia, always, at least since her father's death. She did have her mom and dad in the beginning, but she lost her mom, passed away kind of early on, and because their family was Jewish and they're hiding the fact that they're Jewish from this, the Spanish society around them, her father's, he wasn't able to perform the typical rituals that you would with when a family member dies. He wasn't able to do that, and it kind of drove him mad. It drove him a little bit insane, and he just never got over it. Okay, he never forgave himself, and he just slowly went mad. He slowly went a little bit more crazy as time went on. And while Lucia was still a younger girl, her father passed away. All right. And that story is told during the narrative. You do see what happened to him through the narrative. And it's very sad. There's a lot of sadness in this book too. But her aunt, Jualit, she's kind of on her own and independent and does some questionable things to stay independent, but you got to do what you got to do to survive, right? And she did at one time take in Lucia and take her in for a little while and kind of help her. And so we're talking about that here. Lucia thought back to the day when her aunt had first read the words from her letter, when she'd felt the language twist and take on a new shape, heard the melody those words made. She thought of the iris blooming with its hungry yellow mouth. If she had failed that day, if she'd had no gift for miracles, if the words had meant nothing on her lips, would Jualit have taken her in? Because we've got a couple things happening here. First of all, the mention of language, the mention of the words and the language, taking shape and taking form for Lucia, that is important. The message of how important language is and how magical it can be is threaded throughout this book. I love that message of language being important. Obviously it's important, right? But the mystery of it, the magic of it, the romance of it is just threaded throughout this novel. And I loved that. But right here, what we're seeing is that Lucia discovered the magic of these words. She discovered that she knew these little tunes, these little refrains, and she could use those little refrains to like stimulate the magic within her, right? And she's wondering if she hadn't been able to do that, would her aunt have helped her? Would her aunt have taken her in? Would her aunt have taken an interest in her? And she's wondering that. And it's just one more reminder that everyone has always used this poor girl. And she's not a happy, upbeat, positive, optimistic character. Okay, she's not. She recognizes that her life sucks. She recognizes that she's a lowly kitchen maid. Okay, she recognizes that she's not going anywhere in this life unless she can use these mini miracles and this notoriety that comes with them. She recognizes she's not going anywhere in this life unless she can snag this opportunity and hang on to this opportunity and clutch it with both hands. Okay, and there's this feeling throughout the novel that her hunger for that ambition, that desire to get ahead, there's this hint of it being unseemly. And I didn't understand why it had to be unseemly, but it felt unseemly to me as I was reading it. And maybe you, when you're reading it, maybe you won't get that feeling, but I did. I got this feeling that the main character herself didn't see it as a positive thing. And I'm like, woman, grab this and run. But yeah, there were moments where I just got the feeling through the narrative and through the way Lucia was thinking, through the way she was treating herself and thinking about herself. I just got the feeling that her ambition was somewhat dirty. And you might feel differently about it. I mean, when you read it, tell me, or if you've already read it, tell me in the comments below, did you get that feeling too? Did it feel that it was unseemly for her to go for that ambition? I might not have phrased that question very well. Tell me what you think in the comments below. All right, so there we go. Okay, in page 97, when she does accept that she's going to do these mini miracles, when she does accept that she's going to go to this tournament that I mentioned, it started to feel very Hunger Games to me. And I'm not saying that we ripped off the Hunger Games. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that entered my mind, like we're going full on Hunger Games. And I wrote that all the Hunger Games vibes, including the I did have a little bit of dislike for Lucia at times, the way I did for Katniss. So we're on page 97. Yeah, we've got we have 4 characters who have the ability, we think, have the ability to do little mini miracles. Lucia, obviously, and we can see that she's doing these miracles, and we can see how she's doing them. Okay, we see that through the book. But we also have a character named Fortune. Did I write these all down? Yes. Okay. Was it Fortune? He plays an instrument. And when he plays this instrument, his magic, we think, comes to the surface, and he's able to manipulate elements and bring animals to a stage, do things like that. Okay, he's able to, yeah, we think he's manipulating his magic with this instrument that he's playing. There's a gal named Teoda, and she is called the Holy Child, and she brings fortune telling. She's able to see things. She sees visions, and so when she comes to do her magic, she's giving visions and talking about things that are things to come. Then there's a gal named Gracia, or Gracia, but she is called the Beauty. And as far as I can tell, her big power is beauty, but there's more to her than that. And I'm not going to tell you more about her. I'm going to leave it there so I don't spoil things. And then Lucia, she has her power of speaking and singing these refrains. Okay, so the way she gets to go to this tournament, and the way we get this familiar coming into the story, is that Lucia is, well, Valentina, her mistress, traps her into revealing that she has this magic. So Valentina, she's not a great gal either. She's not. There were very few characters in this book that were worthy, let's say. And Valentina, not really worthy. She would like to be higher up in society, right? And so when she discovers that her maid, this paid servant, can do these mini miracles, she sees this as an opportunity. She sees this as her ticket into higher society. She can invite a couple to her home. They can have dinner, and Lucia can perform one of these little mini miracles. The couple will be impressed, and the couple will invite Valentina to their home. Okay. And that couple will also tell all their friends about what they have seen. And when all their friends hear about it, they're going to be like, oh, we want to invite Valentina to our home for a fancy meal and a fancy dinner and a fancy party in our fancy place, right? Because then Valentina will have to invite us to her home, and we'll get to see the mini miracle too. So what's happening is sort of an exchange, right? Valentina she's using Lucia so that she can get into people's fancy homes and have fancy dinners and fancy parties. It's all about social status, okay? She's using Lucia and Lucia's magic. She's using her. Everyone's using her. Well, one of the people that comes to Valentina's home, her husband is just vacant in the head. What did I say? Valentina and her brainless husband. I think his name was Marius. I just read this thing. Marius. He's memorable, isn't he? Anyway, Marius, brainless, whatever. He likes to ride his horses and go hunting. So Marius and Valentina have a dinner party at their home, and there is a gentleman there. And that gentleman is Santangel. And he is watching, he's paying attention, and he sees this mini miracle happen. And he's like, there's more that could happen here. And so he goes back to his boss, which is Viktor. Viktor is this horrible, awful cretin. He is vindictive. He is manipulative. He is a narcissist. He just wants more power. He wants another title to his name. He would like more wealth. He would like more houses. He would like more. And he has kept Santangel in his service for as long as he's been alive. Santangel has been in his family's service for generations. Okay. And I'm not going to go into how that happened because you need to read it for yourself. I'm not going to go into how that could be amended because it's heartbreaking and you can read that for yourself. Yeah. Viktor is horrible. He's a horrible character, but he wants to have Lucia be his champion in this tournament. So he's going to have Santangel teach her and help her and guide her and make her better at using her magic so that she will do well in the tournament, and then Viktor will look good in front of the king, blah, 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 right? That's our story. That's what's happening. So Lucia and Santangel are often together, working on this magic together, trying to improve Lucia's control of it. And so they are thrown together quite a lot. Therefore, a relationship is blossoming there. That's, to me, that felt a little bit forced at times, but they were constantly together in learning and learning. So I guess it was inevitable that those two would form a bond. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to give away too much, so I'm not going into what all happens. We are going to talk a little bit more about the language and some of the cool lines that came up with this idea of the language. And guys, it was just so lovely how that was just flowing through this whole narrative. The idea of the language being so important and being magical. I like that. There was one line in particular. Let's see if I've got it. Pages 78 and 79. Let's go there, you guys. Where are we? Nope, that's 75. Hold, please. 76. 78. Okay. Okay, here we go. I wrote out in the margin, brilliant. And here's this line that says, there was nothing more dangerous than a woman with a pen in her hand. I love that. Obviously, I underlined it. That was brilliant. That was wonderful. I love that. And then over here, we have Luzia and Santangel are talking to one another about the melody that she uses and the words that she uses for her magic. And let's see, he is saying, no great miracle has ever been worked in Castilian. And why is that? Because it is a language that spends its power in command and conquest. But you were wrong when you said you didn't need the words. You do need them, just as God did when he set this whole miserable clockwork running. Language creates possibility, sometimes by being used, sometimes by being kept secret. There is so much in that little bit of dialogue right there. So much. And it's so deep. It's wonderful. I underlined all that. You guys, there's a lot happening in that little piece from Santangel right there. There's a lot going on right there. That was amazing. That was brilliant. Okay. Is there more that I need to tell you about this? I mean, I mentioned to you, Juanit, her aunt, she does what she has to do to stay alive, to stay, yeah, it's interesting. It's not every character was likable. Not every character was moral. Not every character was someone you could root for. But I will tell you, Viktor was a character that you could root against. I will tell you right now, if you like stories where the villain is just villainous, where you will root against the villain with every fiber of your being, this book is for you. I despised Viktor. Okay, Viktor was, grating and unlikable in the first part of the book. He became more unlikable as the book went on. By the end of it, I wanted to burn him at the stake. By the end of the book, Viktor was just this irredeemable, awful, terrible, insidious character. I wanted to step into the story and kill him. I hated him. Leigh Bardugo did an excellent, fabulous, wonderful job of making Viktor a terrible villain. Excellent job. Excellent. Excellent. Yes. There you go. Okay, you guys, thumbs up for villains we can root against. Well, root against them so hard. Yeah. I recommend the book because it's a good story. It's a good read. There's a lot hidden in this book that is amazing and great. I'm just gonna say it. Amazing, great. And the concept of the language and the singing, brilliant. Love it. Magical words. Magical words. There you go. You guys, please subscribe to the channel so that you know each time we do book reviews, whether they're new, whether they're from authors you are not familiar with, whether they are random and crazy, kind of like this one was starting to get to be.